This is a stage where you work out exactly what you want, where you can chop and change things, you can rub out, you can get it as you want it. So take your time and with the pencil lightly draw in your design. Farmhouse in the center there. Gap off to about 1/3 so you've got a view between the farmhouse and the barn on the left through to countryside. Put an old barn on the left hand side, lean-to shed on it. Put some bushes in front. Courtyard in front of the property. Oak timber framing. When you do timber framing, get it right. Make sure that your beams go together correctly. They don't look like it's going to fall apart. By that I mean you have the corner posts and the verticals and the horizontals in between them. Tree at the side, pond in front. Tree on the right there. Quite a nice big shade tree that dominates the right hand side. Once it's drawn in, with your rotring pen, start drawing. It's quite literally a matter of then of building up your drawing as you go along. I'm doing bulrushes at the moment on the edge of the pond. A couple of duck in front there. Extend them along. Draw in the ducks. Some water lilies. Lines on the pond. Remember what I said earlier. When you're doing water, it must be horizontal lines. You don't want your water to look like it's disappearing off the side of the picture. Most disconcerting. Start building up your tree and shading it. You see, taking it right to the edge there, so when the frame covers it, it'll go over that edge and the picture will sit nicely in its frame. Branches and trunk in there. Work on detail. Sketch in the slates or the tiles on the end of that barn roof. Then the barge board underneath it and the barn itself with a window. Put a stone at the edge. Draw them in carefully so they look plausible. It takes time. It's worth doing because at the end of the day the building will sit firmly on its foundation and look like a building, not something about to collapse. Here we are, nice little brick stone with barge board on the gable end. Hydrangeas and tubs outside the house. Bit of colour there. Move your picture around comfortable positions when you draw. We go now some vertical line work into the water to reflect the bulrushes. Now we're starting on the thatch. First of all, draw in your thatch, the outline of the drawing. You do some very, very light ink shading to get the effect of straw or reed, whatever it is they've used up there at the time. Rambling rose above the door. Put the leaves in. A nice cluster of flowers there. Then the beams. So you've got your verticals, then you take that big horizontal across there. And then the next lot of verticals sit on top of it. There's your bracing beam that comes off the vertical. The front door, oak door, little window in the door. Vegetation down here. You've got to be mindful when you do pen and ink of what's in front and what's behind, so you end up drawing in sequence. You don't end up with bits of beam appearing through vegetation where it's not supposed to be. Suggestion of stone in the yard and water in the pond. Draw the tree. Little squiggles for the leaves. Develop your own style of drawing leaves, etc. Whilst we're drawing this, let's go on to a little thing called style. in the style of so-and-so, Constable or whatever. And artists have a style. You'll find that as you develop with your art, you'll notice that there's a certain style, the way you draw, the way you hold your pens, lends itself to the picture, that the picture becomes uniquely yours. That's a great thing to have, because people will learn and see your style of work. If they like it, they'll collect it. But don't worry about that. That's something that will come naturally. And you'll suddenly notice it's there. But it runs through all your pictures. If you don't have a style at all, you're one of these brilliant mimics who can take anybody else's work like Rubens and Gauguin and produce copies, you then become a highly paid forger like that chap Keating. Wonderful to be able to do that, to actually say I'm going to do a painting like a Picasso or a painting like a Rembrandt and actually have the ability to produce it. Once again, you build up your drawing and build in shadow, cross-hatching, fine line work. Don't scrub away with your pen and scrawl. Scrubbing and scrawling is bad. Neat, clean line work. And highlight. Come round. You see where you've got those flowers in front? Gone round a couple of times over the outer edge to emphasize it. Same as these beams here. Going round the edge of the beam where the infill is between the beams. There's plaster and lath, which is going to be painted creamy white. That would have been wooden laths put down between the beams and then plastered over with horsehair and whatever plaster. Window with LED lights, diamond LED lights in there. Shade along the top where the sun's coming down. Remember where your light's coming from, so the angle of your shadow. Then build it up right to the side there, as you can see, right up to the edge of the picture. Then very delicately start working in the back, distant trees, etc. And they can be fainter and set back from the front. So by using much more delicate line work, you actually push those back. Once it's done, get the rubber going and give it a really good clean. Make sure the ink's dry first. Having cleaned the picture, go around and just make sure you're satisfied with the drawing. I want to overemphasize the line of the roof there to bring it up a bit stronger. Get a really nice tactile thatch on there. You could feel it. Thick thatch enveloping that cottage. Just look at it where it needs a bit of extra highlighting. Once that's done, you're starting to paint. We're going to do the sky first. Always start with the sky at the top and work your way down. Again, cobalt blue, test sheet, ready to go. Now, on this one, turn the picture sideways, easy access, and put clean water on top and wet an area just above the hills there. So you're keeping that white, which is going to be your cloud. There you go. And once it's absorbed into the paper, then take your blue and carefully work in blue round it, so that the edge of your blue runs into the partly dry white paper, or partly wet white paper, which is slowly drying off. And it runs in, so you get the cloud effect building up. Once again, if you've got too much paint, clean it off, toilet paper, clean up any mess, keep it clean so you don't smudge it everywhere. There you are, your clouds. Turn down, and with the same blue, put the reflective blue into the pond. Don't forget the water reflects the blue of the sky. why it's in front there, is to lighten the whole picture in front. Whilst you're at it, with buildings like this, go around and put a wash of blue into all the windows. Start building up the colour on the windows, ready for... Here we go. Don't forget the one in the barns. Right, clean palette, ultramarine. And Viridian. A nice bluey green. A bit of burnt umber just to take the edge off it, tone it down a bit. There we go. And test that. Nice bluey, distant hills green you're making. So you want to be quite heavy on the blue. Bit of burnt umber to take the edge off it. And there we are. Now, carefully wash in colour onto the far hills. Then Viridian again. Not sure where I'm going there. It's Viridian and pale cadmium yellow. Don't think I know where I'm going actually. There we go. Nice light green. And put a layer of pale green over the trees, the bulrushes, the foreground vegetation. Try mixing an experimental sheet. Take a sheet of white paper and just spend an hour or so mixing all sorts of shades of green. And note down which one it is on the paper and put blocks of colour on your paper so you can look at it in future and say, oh yes, that's how I got that green, and it's a mixture of so and so colour. Once you've done that a few times, you'll find you know it so well you'll be able to mix the exact green you want with a couple of strokes of your brush or a couple of swirls of your brush in the palette. Anyway, back to the picture. I'm still blocking in all the distant fields and meadows, different shades of green. You've got the trees and the hedgerows in the distance. This is a darker bluer green, toning it down yet a bit more. And that's through the distant trees and hedgerows. So you've got light green of the fields, the grass green, and then the foliage green of the hedgerows and the trees over the back there. It's almost like paint by numbers. You've got the thing there, you've got the design there. It's a matter of laying on the colours. Now you're mixing up some yellow. Cadmium yellow, yellow ochre, burnt sienna, just to give those fields in the back a touch of yellow. Where a crop's been taken off. Just to relieve the monotony of acres of green. This is now blue and burnt sienna. You're doing your grey of the yard. Cadmium red, burnt sienna, a nice salmon pink, which is going to be rooftops and brickwork. Just work your way around the picture, filling in colours, and look for, as you mix each colour, look where it's got to go. Make sure you get all the different sections coloured in. You can tweak the colours individually as you go, so the brickwork might be a bit darker than the roof tiles and so on. So adjust your colours in each section so you vary it slightly. Slowly fill it in. Shades of brown, The yellow ochre in there. Check your colour. It's a sort of pale brown, yellowy brown, which is the base colour for your thatch on the roof. Nice and even. Once again, thin washes. Don't try and get to the end before you're ready to get to the end. Just build up your washes. Now there's a blue, alizarin, burnt umber. This is your black of your beams. So you want a good browny black mix, which will be the beams on the cottage. Here we go. Nice colour. And carefully paint in the beams. Use a fine brush and paint it in accurately and carefully. Don't get blots of black onto your white areas of the timber framing. It's worth taking your time. There you are. The building's done. A bit more dark brown. I'm using sienna, burnt umber, a bit of blue in there. Once again, using my mixing brush, picking up one of the others, and working the timber work on that barn. Black and white buildings are black and white because the Victorians had this tendency to slap a coat of black, tarry, black stuff over the oak beams. But the original buildings would have been built in green oak and just left where they go a sort of grey-brown colour. Many of the old barns have still got that grey-brown where the houses have had these coats of black put onto their beams. Originally it wouldn't have been black and white, it'd have been basically timber frame, brown, grey-brown and white with creamy plaster in between. A lot of them then took out the plaster and put brick infill, and you get some of the most amazing brick patterns, herringbone, etc. between the beams. Of course, because a lot of them were built green oak, as it dried, it moved. And this is why you get these cottages with all these crazy angles and leaning out. They've been like that for hundreds of years, and they look about ready to collapse on you. It's just because of the way they've dried out. A red and a blue now. So you can give a splash of colour into your flowers. Roses, red roses round the door. It's real chocolate box stuff, this, isn't it? Red roses round the door, I ask you. I'm getting soppy in my old age. And blue hydrangeas. There we go. Nice bit of colour in there. Mix the two. Do a slight purplish grey. And just do the cement around the top of the chimney there, which I forgot early when I did the driveway. Back on green now. You've basically blocked the whole thing in. The only thing white is the picket fence around the orchard on the left there between the barn and the house, and the apple tree there, the fruit tree. Mixing a nice dark shade of green, and you're going to start doing your second layer, having blocked in. Can't see me testing that, but I did. You can see the paper there, trust me. Right, here goes your second wash. Goes over the hedgerows and distant trees. Start giving them some body, bringing them up. That countryside's starting to take shape already. I'm going to try and get a slightly misty, hazy feel to the distance. Once again, the same green, little brush strokes, and start building up the foliage on the tree on the right hand side. So you've got the brown on the trunks. But once again, once you get this all blocked in, you're going to attack it with purple to bring the shadow in. bulrushes. But just work over the greens, layer upon layer, wash upon wash. Work some green into the water, around the blue. The dark colours will give your pond depth. Put dark along the edge there, and it makes the water look deep. And the blue reflects the light, so you get a nice combination. Here we go, that foreground plant shrub, bit of colour on it, another layer, bit of the original showing through. Constantly mixing new, and once again you see testing on top of colours you've done before, which gives you an idea how it's going to fuse with the colour you've got on the paper, how it'll look with that. This one's more of a greeny bottle green, and over the blue of the windows, and you start dropping that on, leaving some of the blue showing through to sparkle the windows, and you get the windows coloured in, looking like glass. Look at the windows around you. You'll see that they have a dark greenish tinge where the shadows are, and then pale blue when it's reflecting the sky, blue-grey. And suddenly the whole picture's starting to take shape, and the vegetation is getting to have form. Cadmium red, burnt sienna, touch of ultramarine, and little streaks to build up the layers on the brickwork. A bit of colour down into your pinkish colour down onto your gravel courtyard. Start building up the brickwork, giving it texture. Don't forget the chimney. Watch your painting, because you find that you suddenly notice something you've forgotten. So constantly review your work and make sure you get the colour where you want it, and don't leave bits out. Once you start on a red or a pink or whatever, you can adjust it and add a bit here, and slightly larger brush and give a nice feeling of tiles on that roof. And because it's slightly dark, you can go back to the brickwork and bring that up a bit more. Now we're mixing a purple with burnt umber for another nice dark black. Once again, try it on your original test sheet to see how it's going, to match it up to the original colour you used for the beams. Now go around and do that second wash on the beams. That should really start bringing them up now. They're looking a bit insipid at the moment. But once again, look at it. You can see how the beams harmonised originally with the painting. That's changed as you painted in and brought up the other parts of the landscape around it. The beams receded, and now they're coming back to the fore again. Double check, make sure there's other bits you don't need to put some on, like that barge board there. Run some colour on that. Right, let's mix up some more brown with sienna and umber, bit of alizarin crimson. Check on it, make sure it's right. With that, you're going to beef up the lintel above that window. The tree trunks. Don't forget the reflection in the water. Put some extra in there. Now onto the thatch. You just want to brush on very carefully some extra brown on the thatch to give it a varied colour range. The tones on the thatch gives it shape. So now we're back with ultramarine and alizarin. You're making 2 pounds of purple, quite a lot of it because you need a lot on this picture. Adjust it, check it on your sheet. Make sure you're happy with it. And then, here we go. Start in the tree and start at the top there and work your way around. I haven't got my hand in the paint, by the way. Wouldn't be the first time, mind you. Okay, now start working your shadow. So come down the tree there, under the eaves of the building there. Lots of purple, dapple shade onto the end of that barn from the tree. Onto the farmhouse, under the eaves of the thatch. Along the edge there where the light casts a shadow. Underneath the fruit tree, onto the picket fence, the white. Get some onto the driveway as well. Into the tree itself, underneath there, away from the light. Round onto the barn at the end. Really makes the picture start to jump out at you. Underneath the ducks. Splash it all over. Along some of the hedgerows. That countryside's got a real dreamy quality about it. I'm pleased with that. There you go. Purple on. Now we're mixing up ultramarine. We're going to do a bit more on the sky. I want some more grey into that cloud. So just washed a bit of grey into it and very delicately lift it off again, just to bring the cloud up a bit more body to it. Now some more yellow. Into that barn at the end there, not strong enough, let's put a bit more. Here we go, into the plaster work at the end of that barn. Once again, a bit of yellow all over. Warm the picture up. That's better. Onto some of those fields and distant hedgerows and the trees in the background. Right, we're getting towards the end now and the picture's taken shape. Some blue and the palette next door, some alizarin, crimson and red. So you can bring up your flowers and blooms outside the house, give them a bit more oomph. Fine brush. There you go, round the rose bush. There we go. Nice red roses. A few streaks of the same in the tile roof, just to give it a bit more body. A couple of bricks. Rinse your brush. And the blue of the hydrangeas. Nice strong blue. A couple of blue streaks in the pond. Viridian. An ultramarine. Burnt umber. Just want to put an extra bit of dark into that distant hedgerow. Some dark into the fruit tree here to bring a bit more body into it. It's looking a bit flat. And into the rambling rose. And the bushes in the foreground. Quite literally fine-tuning it. Bit of burnt sienna into it. Check that. There we go. Just to give a darker green into your windows. You can see as you build up one, another appears to be a bit undertoned, undercoloured. So you adjust that back up again. Right. Mix more green, ultramarine, viridian. Can you see the distant hills are looking a bit pale now? The sky's quite intense. So we mixed a couple of shades of bluey green. We're going to give a very, very delicate wash over the hills and over that distant field, just to bring the whole thing back to the painting. Alizarin, ultramarine, burnt sienna, and a final picking out dark black wash onto the beams. Let's bring it up to the rest. There she be. Bit more purple. And strengthen the shadows in that side there, where the tree's casting a shadow on the edge of the pond. On the picket fence, once again some more on the actual courtyard from that tree and over near the door and around the front door itself. Edge of the pond there, define it. The bulrushes. Underneath that thatch you've got a very dark area right underneath the eaves. You don't want to overdo it. That seems to have brought the thing up. Now, we're going to put some yellow gouache. So I've mixed up some yellow with the gouache, tiny dots, and start dotting some yellow into that tree. You could have left the painting as it was, but I'm going to go and carry on putting my gouache on. I can't resist it. Then do the white. So you've got yellow dots here and there, white dots. Just adds that bit of sparkle. On the flowers, in the water around the ducks, with the ripples. In the tree, once again, all the leaves catching the light, reflecting light. Those distant trees on the end. And there you have it. The old farmhouse. Oh, and don't forget to sign it.